Good morning from Jerusalem. We are getting ready to head out from the hotel and go walking in the old Jerusalem. These are the foundations of houses from the time Jesus would have been here, from the Roman era of Jerusalem. And then when you look this direction, these are the steps that they would have walked up to go visit the temple. We just also heard Acts 2 read, and then this vicinity is where the Holy Spirit descended and the disciples went out and preached the gospel to those from all around the world that were visiting Jerusalem at that time. So this is a mikvah, or a purification bath, and they would have had to, anyone entering the temple would have first had to purify themselves here before they walked up the steps to go into the temple. Here it is. You can see the three entrances that went into the Temple Mount. They have them sealed off now, but people going in to worship would have gone through those gates, and then they would have exited down here. The gates exiting are behind this newer construction.
So during Herod's time, Herod, on all of his stones, you can see like that border around the stones. He did that to signify the things he built, so they would stand up in history. The size of these stones are massive. That's what they said when they destroyed the temple. They weren't able to tip these stones over and destroy these walls. So these are the old walls from Herod, and you can see they end up there with that. And after that point about there, that's from like 500 AD, then the rest of it is built. This is the western wall. Women have to stay on this side of that fence here. The men are on the opposite side. And today is a day of bar mitzvahs. We passed some on the way up here today. We're on top of the Temple Mount here. There's the Dome of the Rock. Muslims are allowed to come here anytime they want, 24 hours a day. Non-Muslims are only allowed here certain days of the week for a couple hours. And we had to walk up a special ramp. That's the only way non-Muslims are allowed up. We're in front of the mosque here, yet in the Temple of Mount. And this is a ceremonial washing pool that the Muslims use. They wash their feet here. You can see the spigots coming out. There's also one to the side here where they wash their hands. And the guide said they would walk into the mosque barefoot then, after the ceremony, to cleanse their feet. Inside the shrine, it's just a rock in there, and that is Mount Moriah. The original temple that Solomon built was on that site, over that rock. And this is also where Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac there on Mount Moriah. Inside this building, that rock that is there. That's what the Jews and Christians believe, but the Muslims believe that Abraham, instead of Isaac, they believe he was going to sacrifice Ishmael, and that's why it's a holy site to them. Major disputed site up here. She said it's a powder keg, so you don't talk politics up here at all. We're leaving the eastern gate here. It's hard to see with the sun, but there's a cemetery out there. This is facing east from the Temple Mount, and the Mount of Olives is actually a ridge that runs along. And it crosses the Kidron Valley between us. Is that what she said? There's a small valley between here and the Mount of Olives Ridge. That's the Kidron Valley. This is the pool of Bethsaida, where Jesus healed the man there that was not able to get inside the pool. And we are just outside of the temple here in Old Jerusalem. So good chance this is the site or very similar to this as well. And Bethsaida, Bet means house in Hebrew, and Sadia is grace. So this is the house of grace. That's what this pool stands for. One problem we have here is trying to decipher all the different time frames. And she was pointing out the different time frames here, from Roman to Byzantine on your way up, and now we have modern day houses up on top where people are still living today. So people just build on top of civilizations. But yeah, there's so many dates thrown at you here and so many different time periods. It's hard to keep them all sorted out in your head, that's for sure. But it is amazing, all the civilizations that lived here at one point. One thing you figure out is these people over here in the Holy Land's capitalized on everything. Supposedly the site of that church is where the Virgin Mary was born. I don't know. But everywhere you go, somebody stakes their claim on historical event, and usually conveniently has a gift shop involved. Still walking through Old Town Jerusalem here. It's neat, these old narrow streets here, all these shops along the sides. Dried fruit and spices over there. Jerusalem has so much significance to all different faiths, so it's divided up into 4 quarters. There's the Muslim quarter we just exited. There's the Christian quarter we are in now. There's an Armenian quarter and a Jewish quarter.
The mural that was shown previously is a depiction of what this possibly could have looked like during the Roman times. This was the main corridor through Jerusalem at that time.
Western Wall. This is where they say their prayers, the Jews. You can see he's tying the phylactery around the little boy over there. That's where they tie them around their arms, the boxes with the scriptures in it around their arms and around their foreheads as well. A lot of people praying here against the wall. This is also where they tuck the written prayers into the cracks in the wall. Men and women at this point are separated. There's a wall right here that separates the men from the women. It's where they store the scrolls here inside these cabinets with some like big metal urns of some kind. Still at the Western Wall. This is one of the stones in the Western Wall. It is, you can see it down there. He's standing close to the edge of the seam there. 42 feet long, 14 feet tall. And you can see the other seam right down there. I think it's massive. 14 feet tall. Thought to be 12 feet thick. Yeah, these are the tunnels. The Western Wall was never destroyed all the way. What they did is other civilizations filled it with dirt and then built their houses on top of it. And they later came and excavated underneath the houses, so the buildings are still above us right now, and they exposed the length of the Western Wall for tours so you can see it. This area here, it's set back in and just filled with dirt. There's an original entrance into the temple in Jesus' time. You can see the arch up on top where the entrance was. When they excavated out here, there's a void there. So this is part of the Western Wall. This is actually Mount Moriah that's stuck out too far. You can see it there as well, where they tried to make it look like part of the stone wall. And you can actually see where the stones went in farther there, that where the marble stuck back in. Amazing what they were able to build. And so this was actually the original floor here at the base of the wall.
We just exited Jerusalem, or the old part of Jerusalem, through the Lion's Gate, and we are now heading down toward the Kidron Valley, where we will meet our bus.